Pet parenting is a great experience. For many of us, we intend that having canine companions will turn out a lifetime affair. The value, sense of belonging, loyalty, and aid they offer is second to none. However, we have duties to perform as pet owners. This is to ensure that our furry pals still are in the best state of mind and health. Bearing this in mind, we have a call to top-notch responsibility and commitment at large. This role goes beyond supplying food, shelter, and clothing. Taking this into consideration, let us unravel one of the frequent puzzles among dog parents. In this video, we will answer the question of how much a dog should be fed, as well as how often. Let's start by saying dog feeding should be influenced by a couple of factors. What are the factors that should influence dog food size? As with humans, dogs should not be fed simply because they feel the urge to eat. This could lead to lots of complications. Such adverse effects could range from excessive weight to more severe health complications. On the contrary, insufficient feeding could lead to a health-deficient furry pal. Considering this, we need to answer the question of how much food to feed a dog. In doing this, you should understand that there is no one-size-fits-all answer to this question. Some of the factors that determine the size of dog food include age, physical activity, breed, health peculiarities, nutritional track record, product specifications, among others. Let's go over some of these factors one after the other. 1. Age of the dog. As regards to feeding your dog, age is one of the essential factors to be put into consideration. At the early stage of their lives, dogs go through a rapid growth process. As a result, they need certain nutrients both from weaning and external sources. If they are not exposed to these nutrients through various meals, the chances of impeded growth are very likely. Bearing this in mind, what food per life stage should your dog be exposed to? Let's start with puppies. In the context of feeding, it costs more to have a puppy than an adult dog. Dogs require more amount of food while they are young. As they progress in age, they can be fed less. This is considering the delicate nature of their growth process while they are still young. From 8 to 8.5 weeks, dogs should be weaned. Except for breast milk, you should not expose them to nutrients from external sources for 3 to 4.5 weeks. At that stage, every nutrient required for their growth is embedded in the mother's breast milk. After the 4th week, you should start introducing small portions of commercial dog food. There are stage-sensitive dog meals you can use during this stage. Furthermore, breastfeeding mothers should be fed well. This is considering the welfare of the puppy weaned. In the 6th week, you should become more deliberate about feeding your dog pet food. Among other reasons, this is considering that the weaning process will be over soon. To get very accustomed to the meals, you should feed him between 3 to 5 times daily. For the records, do not interfere in the female canine's decision to stop weaning the puppies. Let that be her exclusive decision. However, just be meticulous about the feeding plan for commercial food as discussed earlier. The quantity should also be influenced by the breed and size of the dog. On a general note, larger-sized dogs consume more food than smaller-sized dogs. Now, how about older puppies? We consider canines above 3 months as older puppies. At this stage, you would need to decrease the food consumption rate of your dog. As against the previous 3 to 5 times feeding system, you should feed the dog just 3 times a day. At this stage of their lives, you would notice the development is not as rapid as during the earlier period. Aside from dealing with personal health issues, this is why for a dog, the first 3 months is the most important as regards to feeding. After 6 months to 1 year, the feeding system should be reduced to 2 times daily. At this stage, they do not need as many calories as they required while younger. Next, let's talk about feeding an adult dog. The term adult dog is subjective. It is largely dependent on the breed of dog. On a general note, smaller-sized dogs reach adulthood faster than larger-sized dogs. A smaller-sized dog would likely exhibit adult tendencies at around 1 to 1.5 years. On the contrary, large-sized dogs do not approach adulthood as fast as their counterparts. The process may take about 2 to 2.5 years. For an adult dog, you can explore the option of changing diets. However, this should be done gradually. The digestive system of the dog has to adjust to the change. Considering this, you should add it in the daily portions until your dog is used to it. Finally, on the subject of dog age and feeding, let's talk about older dogs. As a dog advances in age, he becomes more susceptible to health complications. This possibility should be factored into their food intake. For instance, older dogs are much likely to have arthritis. Also, the same can be said for diabetes. At this stage, in line with professional guidance, the feeding should be health-inclined. For instance, if a dog has diabetes, his feeding should be tailored to deal with or cope with personal health issues. 2. Physical activity. When a dog engages in physical activity, he burns calories and pent-up energy. Ordinarily, such a dog will demand more food. Also, the dog should be fed more than a dormant dog. If a dog is not exposed to daily walks and other physical activities, he would not have a way to discharge calories and pent-up energy. Feeding such a dog excessively could result in varying adverse effects. In plain terms, the activity level of a dog should influence food consumption. Some of the dog breeds that are given to more physical activity include Boxer, Golden Retriever, German Shepherd, among others. These dogs naturally tend to be physically active. This means they should consume more than less active dogs. 3. Breed of dog. On a general note, most large-sized dogs are physically active than small-sized ones. On account of this, dogs with more physical tendencies should be given many avenues to discharge pent-up energy. Also, their feeding should be reflective of this. This implies that they should be fed more. You shouldn't restrict their physical abilities in a bid to control their food intake. This can lead to severe consequences such as separation anxiety. Pet parents should understand that a playful dog is a happy dog. 4. Health peculiarities. This factor is more peculiar with aged dogs. As dogs advance in age, they become very susceptible to physical and health complications such as arthritis, diabetes, among others. As a result, they need appropriate meals to deal with these conditions. Bearing this in mind, you should make sure your dog's food is tailored to address their health complications if any. Also, you should be watchful of their conduct. For instance, you might need to stop your aged dog from jumping from the floor to the sofa. At this stage, they do not have that sort of energy and immune system they possessed earlier in life. 5. Nutritional track record. Some dog owners do not experience the early stages of their canine companion's life. Some dogs are bought, while others are simply adopted from shelters across the country and the globe at large. If you belong to this category, you should pay attention to the following statement. Considering that you were not involved in the early feeding decision, with the help of your vet, you should make sure your dog is not lacking in this regard. If you see that your dog is deficient in a nutrient, the subsequent feeding should be wired to correcting this flaw. Also, such dogs may have allergies you are not aware of. You should be very observant of such canine creatures. This is important for his overall well-being. 6. Product specifications. There are various brands of commercial dog food manufacturers. Some of them have a track record of producing high-quality meals in line with the best global practice standard. Furthermore, most of these products come with quantity specifications inscribed on them. You should adhere to these specifications and observe your dog after a week or two. Check out the weight of your dog after 2 weeks. If there is excessive gain or loss in weight, you should either re-evaluate the quantity or change the product entirely. In case you cannot find this specification on the product, most companies have this information on their website. You could check the company's website to ensure you are feeding your dog the correct proportion. We have addressed a particularly important issue about dog food. However, let's talk about something else. Does your dog need a schedule for eating? Should you free feed dogs or use a defined schedule? There is no definite rule in this regard. However, this is dependent on the dog in question. Some dogs do not need a defined schedule for eating. This is considering that they can ration the food for themselves. However, not all dogs exhibit this tendency. As a result, we strongly advise that you use a defined schedule for feeding your dog. Below are some of the reasons you should do this. 1. Helps your dog avoid obesity on the extreme. Feeding an over-demanding dog without a fixed schedule can be disastrous. This is considering the effect of his never-ending demand. At the very least, the constant indulgence of such dog parents may result in canine obesity. 2. You can detect health complications easily. Also, free feeding a dog can delay prompt response to medical conditions. Most dogs eat a lot. One of the signs of a sick dog is the refusal to eat. With free feeding, you may not realize this trait on time. This is especially if you are a parent to more than one dog. 3. It helps the training process. Furthermore, scheduled feeding helps with potty training. When you feed your furry pal at a definite period, chances are that you know when he decides to use the convenience. As a result, you have an edge training your dog to act appropriately in this regard. 4. Mental stimulation as part of the package. Meals can be used to help your dog develop mentally. The meals can be served in puzzle toys. From experience, dogs who are successfully exposed to this strategy are less likely to have separation anxiety. This is because they are independent and not negatively attached to their owners. Conclusively, pet parenting is a call to top-notch responsibility. You should be observant and committed to your pet's welfare. Bearing this in mind, the feeding of your dog is very important. This video has addressed factors responsible for how much food you should feed a dog. The determinants include age, breed, health history, physical activities, and the likes. You should be practical about implementing the lessons learned from this moment. If you've enjoyed this video, click the subscribe button below and hit the notification bell so you'll know once we post a new video. Also, drop a comment below so we can know your thoughts. Finally, don't forget to check the description below for more details and visit our site www.zimdogfood.com for more awesome dog food content like this.